Hello everyone and welcome back to this channel. On today's video, we're gonna go back to Lightroom and we're going to recreate the famous teal and orange look, which is this one. Actually, this look is really popular nowadays. You can see it from, I don't know, blockbuster Hollywood movies to the majority of the filters on Instagram. So today we're going to recreate it ourselves in Lightroom. It's actually not that difficult, and without any further ado, I think it's time to jump into Lightroom. So here we are inside Lightroom and we're gonna be editing this lovely picture today, so summery. So the first thing we're gonna do, I'm gonna go to my basic panel and this is where I'm going to adjust the tones of my image. We're not going to the color yet, we're not going to the style of the image yet. First of all, we're going to work on the tones. That means we're going to work on the highlights, shadows, whites, black, midtones, and stuff like that. First thing we're gonna do is add a tiny bit of exposure, just a tiny bit. I don't think it needs too much because it's very bright anyway. And then I'm going to pull down my contrast slider. About -45 seems good to me. And the reason I do this is because I like to work on my contrast by manipulating the sliders underneath, like the highlight, shadows, whites, blacks, and also the tone curves, instead of just using the contrast slider itself. So for the highlights, I think that we need to pull that down a little bit, somewhere around here seems nice. And for the shadows, I'm going to do the opposite because I think that my figure is really dark at the moment and I want to get rid of these shadows on my figure. For the whites, I'm gonna bring the slider down. And then for the black, I'm going to pull that up exactly for the same reason I said before. I don't want to have very dark areas on my image. I want to avoid that because I feel that this area over here was too dark before. So let's see a before and after so that we can see what we've done already. So from here, we went to here because all the information is still there in my image, and this is really important. Just a little disclaimer, because some people asked me in my previous video on Lightroom as well, I always shoot raw, and this is because raw files gives you the ability to work a lot on the post-production. You can do a lot of things, you can manipulate your pictures, you can do a lot of color corrections, tone corrections, while if you're shooting JPEG files, you won't be able to do all these things. JPEG files, they are kind of already processed in the camera, so you cannot do much afterwards in post-production. So if you want to work with Lightroom, Photoshop and stuff like that, and you like photo editing, I highly recommend that you start shooting raw files with your camera. Back to our picture now. I would also like to add some texture to my image, and then we're gonna move down to our tone curve to work even more on our tones. So I'm going to add some key points for my shadows, midtones and highlights, and here we have also the blacks, and at the very top we have the whites. So now what I'm gonna do is to lift that up because I like to have this faded kind of look on my black colors. I don't want them to be really dark black. And then I'm going to maybe pull that down a little bit. There's no right or wrong in these things. You have to experiment and, you know, see what you like the most for the style that you want to go for. And yeah, I think that this is pretty good. And also I'm going to work a little bit more on this here. So for the highlights, I think I'm just gonna pull that down a little bit. For the lights, maybe I'm gonna go here, somewhere here. I think it's good. For the darks, +6, and for the shadows, I'm going to lift that up and go to around here. All right, I think this is good. Let's see a before and after the tone curve. So this is before and this is after. It's quite subtle, but I like it. And I'm going to move to my next panel, which is going to be my calibration panel. And this is the one at the very end over here. So here we can see our primary colors, red, green, and blue. And this is where you actually create this teal and orange look. This is the main panel that you can use to get to this style. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my red colors and push that slider towards the orange side. And for the saturation, I'm going to drag that up now and see how it looks. It's getting quite orangey over here. And I'm gonna stop there. And then I'm going to go down to the blue color, which actually I want to turn it into teal. So for this color, I'm going to drag that down. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go almost towards the end. I'm gonna go -88. And you see that immediately we're getting a totally different style to our image. We're getting completely different colors. And I'm going to explain you in a minute why this is happening. And for saturation, just to finish off with this specific panel, I'm going to go to +8. And as you can see, we've already got the main edit for our look. It's already teal and orange, more or less. Of course, we need to do some extra editing and finalize that, add some finishing touches, but the main thing is already there. And how we did that? The secret is to go to the calibration panel instead of the HSL panel. These two panels, they both work with color. They don't have to do with tones, they have to do with colors. So, working with colors on the calibration panel, you actually affect the primary colors, so red, green, and blue, but these, they affect also the secondary colors and all the mixed colors that they derive from the mixing of these primary colors. So you basically affect the color foundation, while if you were working on the HSL panel, you would work on separate colors. You would work on individual colors and you wouldn't affect the whole foundation of the image. Well, I hope that makes sense. And now I think it's time to go back, and now we can go to our HSL panel. Here we can affect the colors individually. As you can see, we have more options comparing to the calibration panel. Regarding the hue, I think I just need to work on the aqua color, and I think we need to move towards a teal shade. And I also want to work on my blue color, and I'm going to drag it down to around -9. -9 seems nice. I don't want to do anything else with the rest of the color, so I'm going to move down to the saturation. I'm going to go to the red and pull that up just a little bit. You know, what I find that it really works is to do a lot of minor changes instead of just going to a slider and drag it all the way up or all the way down. I think that a lot of small changes, they create a more balanced and better image at the end of the day. I'm gonna desaturate the orange a little bit. And now I'm going to desaturate my aqua color, -49, seems okay. I'm gonna do the same for the blue color. And last but not least, we're going to move on to the luminance, and we're gonna affect the luminance for the orange. I wanna make the orange color just a little bit darker. And the same goes for the aqua, and the same goes for blue. And I think that I'm done with this specific panel. I'm going to move down to my split toning. Well, in this specific case, we have already created the style that we want to, but generally speaking, split toning is a panel where you can actually add a lot of character to your image. You can create your own style, and I think that it's really good to experiment with it, try and see what works better for the style you want to go for. And in this specific occasion, for the highlights, I'm going to go all the way up. If we drag up the saturation, we can see clearly what we're doing. Otherwise, we're just guessing. So yes, I want my highlights to have a teal kind of color. Yeah, somewhere around here I think we're good, but of course we're gonna drag the saturation down. Around 13 is fine. And then for the shadows, we're gonna drag the saturation up so as to be able again to see what we're working on. I don't know, I want a kind of orange tone here, so somewhere around here is good. I'm gonna drag that down again, my saturation, something like that. And for the balance, I actually think I want to emphasize more the highlights, so I'm gonna go +11. I think it's fine. So let's see before and after. So this is before, and this is after the split toning. It's pretty subtle, but I like it. I think it makes a difference, right? And then we're gonna move on to my effects panel. I'm going to add just a little bit of vignetting, maybe something around here, and then I'm going to play with my midpoint and roundness. And I think I'm done with this panel as well. So now we're finished with the core of our adjustments, and now it's time to do our minor twists, our minor tweaks, and this means our local adjustments. So we're going to use our brushes, we're going to use our radial filters or our graduated filters, and we can create a nice atmosphere to our image and actually fine-tune it in a way. So I'm going to start with a graduated filter right here, and let's see what we can do with it. By the way, by hitting O on your computer, you can see what area you're affecting. Maybe widen that up a little bit, rotate it just a tiny bit because I don't want to affect the silhouette. So here we are. And now I want to drag the exposure down just a little bit. For the shadows, I want to get rid of my shadows. So I want to go up. And then for the black, I actually like it somewhere here. I want to add a little bit of texture because I like the mountain that I have over here, and I want to add a little bit of texture to it and maybe a little bit of clarity as well. And we can also dehaze. And yeah, we can see a difference here with the dehaze, and desaturate just a little bit. And I'm done with this filter, and let's add one more graduated filter on this side. Let's rotate it a little bit. We use the hand to expand it, and I think that this is good. And then we can play with the corrections. Let's make sure that we don't really affect the body. So here I think again that I want to drag that down just a tiny bit because I think it's too bright from this side. Something like that, I think it's fine. I find it helpful to always check on the small image on your left top corner, because I don't know, I feel it works better when you see your image smaller to understand how much you're affecting it in a way. Try it out. I don't know, for me it's really helpful to do that. I also do that a lot when I add vignetting to my pictures. So over here I'm gonna pull the shadows up quite a lot. I don't want to have any shadows. Black, same, I'm gonna drag that up. I'm gonna add a little bit of clarity, and I'm also going to add quite a lot of saturation. Let's see a before and after with the graduated filters. This is with the filters and this is without. It's quite a big difference. I don't know, I think it adds depth to my picture. Let's see what else we can do. Next, I'm going to go to my brushes. So I want this t-shirt that I'm wearing not to be that black. I want it to be a more faded black, if that makes sense. So the way to do this is click on the brushes and hover your mouse over the area that you want to affect, like that. And now I'm gonna start working on it. First of all, I don't want to affect the exposure, but for the black color, as I said, I want to really make it more, you know, as I go higher, what happens? It becomes faded. I don't want, of course, that much, but I want to go at about, this seems kind of all right to me. I think I need to add a little bit more here and maybe on this area. You can always zoom in to work more precisely on your image. I might need to add just a little bit of clarity. And I think I'm done with this specific brush. The next thing I want to affect is the mountains. And I want to play a little bit with a brush over here. I'm gonna make it quite big so that I can hover over this area. Maybe make it a little bit smaller to go also on these spaces right here. Hit O. And yeah, we've actually done quite a good work over here. Let's see. I'm actually happy with the area that I have selected. And now what I want to do is hit O again to get rid of this red color that shows me what I'm working on. First of all, I want to change the temperature just a little bit, make it a little bit warmer. And then I also want to add a little bit of exposure. And as always, I want to reduce the contrast. For the shadows, I'm going to drag all the shadows up. Just to clarify, the style I want to create, it doesn't really have any big contrasts or very dark colors. It's more like a faded kind of teal and orange look. So this is what I have in my mind. This is what I'm trying to achieve. Then I'm gonna go to the black and lift that up as well, because I don't want to have any super dark areas, as I just said. I'm gonna add a little bit of clarity and also dehaze. maybe saturate just a little bit. And I also want to add a little bit of color effect on this specific brush. So I'm gonna click on here and I want to add a warm tone, something like that maybe, and saturate a little bit. Yeah, I think this looks good. Another thing that I would like to do, I want to use a new brush, go to my hair over here and hover over my hair. And I want to make this a little bit warmer, maybe turn the exposure down just a little bit. I want to add some shadow, so I'm going to drag this slider down, but I also want to add a little bit of clarity. Also desaturate just a little bit. Just another thing that I don't like and I want to change a little bit is these bushes right here. I think they need a little bit of correction. So if I click on that and add a new brush, hover over these bushes right here, maybe also right here. What I want to do with these is to, first of all, desaturate them quite a lot because I feel that they are too saturated now, and add a little bit of clarity though. And I also want to drag the black slider up because I think that they have too much black at the moment that I want to get rid of. Also, the same goes for the shadows. I think I need to pull the shadows up just a tiny bit. So I'm gonna hit done. And the last thing I want to do is to play a little bit with this skirt. And what I want to do is I want to add a little bit of exposure. I want to make it pop a little bit. I'm going to bring the blacks and the shadows down. So for the black, I'm going to go, yeah, -8 actually seems all right. And for the shadows, I'm going to drag that down as well at around -8. And maybe I want to desaturate just a little bit so that it's not so intense, the color on the skirt. To be honest with you, I think that right now the image is more or less done. I think that we really created a nice style. It's really eye-catching, I would say. And I think it's time for our final before and after. So let's see what we've done today. And this is before and this is after. I love it. I like it, you know, it's really, really cool. And to be honest with you, I really like this teal and orange look because it actually has a very retro kind of vintage character to it, and I really love that. And I think that this is it for today, guys. I think that right now you should be able to go back to your own Lightroom, go back to your photos and recreate this style on your own as well. And to be honest with you, it's pretty straightforward. All the game is played in the calibration panel. So if you work on that, then the rest, it's more a matter of taste and a matter of what you want to go for. I hope you found this video useful. I hope you found it inspiring. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and maybe consider subscribing to this channel as well. Until next time, stay safe and happy editing.